um, documenting both the lives of disabled people and artists of disabled people, but there's quite a lot of stuff around, what's happening in lockdown and contemporary things. Uh, so and everything that we do, and I think it's really important to say this at the beginning, that once we are in the live session, everything will be being recorded. In fact, we are being recorded as of now, so I will get to hear back um, all the stuff. Um, Most importantly, though, that the only people who are recorded during this are the panelists. So as an attendee to the event, you are not being recorded. If I don't say that again later, somebody remind me to let you know. If you are at all worried about being recorded, it will only be the people from Together and the artists who are being recorded. So I will spend the next 20 odd plus minutes just talking you through some of the stuff at the festival, and a little bit about how the system works. I think I'll come back to that when we've got a few more people in. So if we can, let's have a little look at some of the items and the incredible things that are coming up within the festival. Oh, my screen has just changed. That is excellent. I am seeing all the cameras of the panelists. You aren't. So, as we say tonight, we have our performances from um, Gobscure and his piece Hyena in Petticoats, and Rebecca Redican's piece Delay 6. Now, I don't want to say too much about these at the moment, just because you're going to get to see it all in the very short amount of time. But just to say that these are extremely accomplished artists, and their work is really um, critical and provocative and evocative, and any other word you can think of that makes you want to ask questions. But as you say, we have a full program in, and the show is not only going out now via the webinar, but is also live on YouTube. So if anybody doesn't have Zoom, but you want them to watch this, then you can point them to YouTube, where they can find the Together channel showing um, the, what we're doing. Sorry, there I seem to have gone all croaky. So it's a kind of interesting time of year at the moment. I mean, we are approaching International Day of Disabled People, as we do every year on the 3rd of December. But I think it's going to be really interesting this year what kind of stuff comes out, and obviously our festival is a and the history element brought within to our festival is really important in remembering and promoting, the history of disability culture, the history of Together within that, the history of disability art, and kind of everything that we do as an organisation to promote inclusion in its broadest possible sense. Some things go wrong sometimes, just like any live broadcast. Sometimes even the BBC go off air, and in these times of doing it via internet links on our home computers, it's quite an interesting perspective, and we have all been on a very, very steep learning curve, uh, not only as presenters, but as users of technology that is not necessarily absolutely new to us, but using it in this way is very new. So apologies if we don't get everything spot on in any of the shows, let alone this evening. However, we've been working hard, and fingers crossed there'll be no problems with running all of the festival this evening, and the various elements that the artists have included in their pieces of work. Just to talk about a few things now I'll come back on screen for a minute. So just to talk about a few of the options that you have as attendees, participants, whatever you'd like to call yourself, at the within the festival. First of all, you are able to change your name as you appear as an attendee. You can do this by just simply clicking on your name, um, and it will give you the option that says to rename, and you type whatever you want to put up there, and press enter, and Scooby Doo, there will be your new name, if indeed you want a new name. If you want to see anybody else's name, if you are, oh, sorry, I've just been told you can't see anybody else's name. That's my mistake there. And that being part of, I don't know why I said that, part of, our safer spaces policy is to ensure that people do remain as anonymous as they wish. And that's kind of, a big part of this. Yeah. The only time that your name will appear is if you choose to put something into the live chat. So that's, again, something else I'm going to talk about now. Hopefully got a few more people in now who may be able to, who are going to be listening to this. So if you want to put something into what we call the live chat, then if you put your mouse towards the bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see a box that literally says chat. And if you click on that box, it will open a window, and then you will be able to type into that to put a message that is available. I'm just checking at the moment, it says panelists. Panelists, and so if you want it for everybody, you would click panelist and attendees, and I will now type something that says, "Hi, this is Robin," and that will come up. So that was with me just literally clicking the chat box and putting in a message. So this is where, so that I guess for everybody's safety, we are aware of any comments that are being put up. Although I'm sure that I'm sure that everyone out there would only be putting up lovely things. The other way of communicating with us is if you wish to ask a question to one of the panelists during the presentation. Now, a question in the panelists, again, you would put your mouse on the screen, and the icons come up at the bottom, and you would hit the button that says Q&A, and then hit open. And at the moment, I'm just looking to double check how that works. It's I have. Okay, I'm just. Oh, okay. You see, I have the technical guru of all of this next to me. So, as I said, it is a learning process. Because I am live as part of the Together presentation or panelist team, I can't ask myself a question. However, as an attendee, then yes, that is what you would do. You would hit that Q&A icon, and then you would type in your question, and the panelists, who would also have their Q&A open as needed, would then see the questions and have the opportunity to answer it. But those questions are only seen by the panelist team, so not everybody as comes in the chat box. Again, if you don't want to see the chat box, you literally just press the chat icon again and the chat box will close. So it's quite simple it's just a case of getting used to where these buttons are. I'll come back and go through that again. Similarly, if anybody is watching this on YouTube, there is a chat function button which opens a window to one side of the player or the viewing screen that's on YouTube, and there where you can have a kind of open-ended chat with whomever is on there, or put up comments to say, you know, hi, thanks, great stuff. Um, so as we'll see, Josh has just put up a chat, and it let me know by coming up on the middle of my screen. So if your chat box isn't open, chats will then appear at the bottom of the screen, and you can then open your chat box as you feel you want to. Uh, So back to looking at some of you know, the event page and stuff. As I said earlier, the festival content itself, not the attendees, but the festival content will be being recorded, and it will then go live on the pages within Together, and the event page within the festival. Uh, Yeah. So just in terms of some of the additional access support that we have in place, once the show goes live, so not at this point while I'm just keeping you busy, keeping you occupied, um, selling you metaphorical ice creams, um, none of which are albatross flavor. Um, but once we do go live, at that point, the live captioning um, will be available, and the BSL interpretation will come on screen and will appear automatically for those of you who are using a computer. Unfortunately, that same option is not available as yet on mobile devices. Yeah. And just getting more info from my producer, just to remind you that what will be being recorded is what appears on the screen um, for attendees. So that is what we believe will be done. Uh, if you, yeah, you very much, if you, some of you haven't been on to one of the live events as yet, um, you do need to get this multi-screen option for attendees. You do need to have the latest version of Zoom uploaded into your laptop or your desktop. And Josh has just put up a link to Zoom to enable you to download the latest version of Zoom with all its wonderful options. Okay, so let's go back and have a look a little bit more at some of the program that's coming up. So as I've said, we know we have tonight, we have Gobscure and Rebecca Redican and their shows. Hyena in Petticoats from Gobscure, and Delay 6 from Rebecca Redican. Don't know why I'm hesitating there. I do know how to say Rebecca quite quickly. So yeah, not quite sure what's going on there. Uh, yeah, stage fright. I'll try not to put that into any super fast raps that I put together. Um, Although, of course, I'd love to have Rebecca Radican in my rap without a doubt. Anyway, so following on from today, on Saturday, we have the Finger and Paper Scruffy Puppets family activity. This will be led by our our artist Hazel Brill, who it will be using various art skills to create a variety of finger puppets, and encouraging experimentation and playfulness from simple finger puppets to more unusual designs. And again, any of you who are familiar with the work of Together 2012, and the artistic inputs from Dr. Jude Gosling, our artistic director, and Julie Newman, our chair, um, you all know that sock puppets have always featured very highly in one of the easiest ways to get involved in puppet making, and acting through your hand and your sock, speaking out, just doing a bit of craft. So it's always good stuff. Um, and there are a huge amount of activities available to um, anybody who comes onto the Together site. I mean, and within the Together site, we have our join in from home. So I'm using the this share facility to just click on. So at the top of the page, you'll have join in from home, and then we have watch with Together 2012, listen with Together 2012, and then a list of other activities that are a regular part of the craft that we do normally, and obviously during lockdown, hence the idea of joining from home, is that we don't want anyone to miss out on their artistic activity and their creative fun. So you can use the websites to find absolutely loads and loads of ideas on things you can do. If you need to chill out within that, we have, I think, now 5 Spotify playlists, maybe even 6. Um, 2 which are much more based around classical music, and 3 that are, or maybe 4, I should know because I did them, that are based around much more contemporary music, but all depending on how you feel. So if I actually click that now, that would Angry Fish playlists. So here we go. So we have the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra links, and these have been put together you for relaxing and unwinding and getting inside your head, and kind of really good for just chilling out, and thinking about yourself, and very good for people who need to be in a kind of really restful, and what's the word? No, convalescing. Yeah, some of us, I think after COVID, we're all going to need to convalesce. By that, I mean, we're going to need a little bit of space to get well again, get our heads together, remember who we are in the outside world. And then there are as a number of playlists that I've put together, that which are Together We Will Survive, Together Keep Calm and Chill Out, and Together We Are Stronger. And actually, as it's showing on the list, on screen, sorry, there is a Together We Will Survive, starts with reasons to be cheerful. Now, I can't think of a better way of starting it, particularly as that is from historically very well known disabled artist Ian Jury, who, like many of our disabled artists, is no longer with us, although he did leave us quite a few years ago now. So back to looking at the festival. We started the whole live stuff with an interview with Jessica Starnes, which I'm not going to play now, but it's talking about Walk With Me, which is her project to take a number of Together participants, not together, well, yeah, apart but together if wanted, but to go on some guided walks using Google Maps and stuff. Google Maps, Google Street Maps, Google Satellite, I guess, Google Street View, and Jess is taking people on walks to some where of choice, and what Julie Newman is, as I said, who is our chair, is going to be going to America to revisit where she went to high school and to see how much it's changed, somewhere she's not been for a few, 3, 4, 5+ years since she left school. And yeah, she'll be going back there to see how it's changed, and particularly it has very strong memories for her around the beginning of the inclusions of people from different minority ethnic groups, where, in America, at the point that Julie was at school, segregation had been massive in education, and her school was the first school to become an inclusive, even in whatever way, an inclusive education establishment. So that's great, and down, if you are interested in that, there are links to follow through, but those spaces may have all been gone. But Jess will be bringing those walks to our screen later in the festival, and I will get back to the main program, and we'll find, if you are interested in those walks and films. Oh, okay, from Jess, and I've just been informed that there are still some places for those walks. I was just looking for when. Oh, and those walks will be filmed, or recorded, I should say, and then will be released on the Together Unlock live stream on Wednesday, the 2nd of December. Okay, so as we approach going live, we've now got about 6 or 7 minutes before the formal performance stuff begins. I'm going to come back and just to remind you of some of the accessibility options available during the live stream. So as I said, at the moment, I am taking you through. If any of you wonder what I look like and unable to see me, I am a sprightly 57-year-old white male gentleman with slightly punk history hair. I think my hair is suffered from being many colors and has now been left white, but still with attitude. And I do wear no rimmed black armed glasses, and today I am wearing my formal front stage, backstage compare attire, the ubiquitous black shirt. And behind me, I have, warming this theatre space, the beautiful crimson curtains of creativity. I'll shut up about that now, and I will move back to looking at some of the access options. So the live event, all of the live event will be accompanied with BSL, sign language or British Sign Language interpretation, and that will appear automatically if you are an attendee on Zoom on your computers, as I said earlier. If you weren't here, that unfortunately the BSL interpretation isn't available on mobile devices as yet. However, the shows are being recorded, and it is our absolute hope and commitment to bring those shows to you as a recorded version with the sign language as well. So if you can't access it today live, it will be available as part of the recorded version sometime in a computer near you soon. We do aim to try to get that up within 24 hours, but sometimes technicalities delay things a little bit. There is also going to be closed caption subtitles, and to access these, once they go live, there will be an icon at the bottom of the screen, and it's a box which says CC. So it was a sort of grey box with black CC in it, and it does actually say closed caption underneath. And if you wish to use that, you'll just click the arrow and it will say show subtitle. And that's where you would click to get the captioning live as we go through. There is also, just to remind you, there is the chat function, which enables you to chats to come up on the side of the your screen, where you can talk with or make comments around what is going on. We do ask that you are complimentary and respectful in your commentary, as everybody is working extremely hard to bring you great art within the festival. As we said earlier, you are able to change your screen name if you do wish to send messages via the chat, then this will come up with your name, but they are open messages. Whereas if you wish to ask the panelists a question, there is a Q&A tab. So both the chat function and the Q&A function and the closed caption function are all available if you drag or click your mouse into the bottom portion of your Zoom window, and then the icons will appear ready for you to use them. As I said earlier, again, this is all being recorded, but to remind attendees that you are not being recorded. There is nobody is being seen who isn't a panelist or the interpreter. So please do not worry that somebody could be videoing you whilst taking part. It is just the panelists who will be being recorded. I think just to close off, we'll go back to the festival website and just have a look at a few of the things coming up. So, as I said, on Saturday, we have the craft activity. Then next Tuesday, really excited to be bringing you I Am Tony, which is a collaborative performance piece between our very own associate drama company called Act Up Newham, who have been working with a similar company all the way in South America called Los Inseparables. Do you know what? I've said it right so many times. Los Inseparables. And they will be bringing you not just the performance of their piece, I Am Tony, but they will be talking about the processes that they've used to create the piece. So they've been working throughout the lockdown period to devise, write, create, and record the show for you, and demonstrating quite how versatile our artists and actors and technicians are in delivering work of the greatest quality, even in these times of having to all do it from home or another safe location where you may happen to be. So it brings me to a close, really. It's just a couple of seconds left to say, do check out the rest of the festival calendar, and I look forward to seeing some of you when I perform later in the festival at the lockdown party. So it's goodbye from me for now, and let me welcome to your screen Dr. Ju Gosling.
Thanks for that, Robin, and welcome everybody to our live art performance night on this, our 9th Disability History Month festival. I'm Ju Gosling. I'm the Artistic Director of Together 2012. Just to start with a little bit of audio description, I have short red hennaed hair in a self-styled Corona crop. I have a black jacket, black glasses, black wrist braces, silver coloured jewellery, and a white t-shirt. I think I'm catching whatever Robin's got from Birmingham, but I have a white t-shirt with the Together logo on it, and I have our Together graffiti banner in the background hanging over some silver grey velvet curtains. So we have BSL interpretation tonight. I understand if you click on gallery view, which is usually in the top right hand corner of the screen, this is the best way to get the visuals up for the BSL. We also have live captions that's click on the CC in the bottom of the screen. I should say these are not Zoom captions, these are real captions from Global Real-Time Captioning. Thank you very much to them, and also to Chris Burrow, our BSL interpreter. I'd also like to start by thanking our funders, the Arts Council, the National Lottery Community Fund, and the National Lotteries London Emergency Fund, who've given us a lot of extra access funding. So tonight you're going to see two wonderful artists. We're going to have a performance from each of them, and each of them is going to begin with a video performance followed by a live performance. And then at 7:45, they're going to join me for a discussion. You can contribute by using live chat. You can use the live chat on Zoom, or if you're watching on YouTube, we have the live chat running there as well. So just tell us anything you would like us to ask our artists. But now I'm delighted to say that our first performer tonight is Gobscure, all the way from Newcastle. Gobscure is very much a festival favourite. He was with us last in 2017 for his exhibition Prison, and on the event page of our programme you can find a link to that event page from 2017, and that includes the video of a fascinating talk which, as it happened, was also interpreted by Chris Burrow. On the event page for Gobscure tonight, you will find that there are now embedded links to an entire website all around this performance and Mary Wollstonecraft. And also, as we're not able to do a workshop, there's a downloadable zine with lots and lots of activities. But Gobscure is going to tell us more about that. So without further ado, I'm going to switch myself off and hand over to him.
Hi. We're in our council flat in Newcastle upon Tyne. Not a big fan of borders, but Hadrian's Wall is about half a mile behind us. So we're listening to the advice from Scotland, not the advice from Downing Street. We're surrounded by demonstration placards. You've seen two sides of one here. You'll see more in the film later on and more around us. We're surrounded by petticoats and hyenas' masks because Mary Wollstonecraft, back in the 18th century, because she was disabled, she was mad, she was bad, she was rad, she was bi, she was a mother, and we spell that M-U-T-H-A. She gave birth to Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, and when we read that book of Frankenstein, we realised we were creature in that book. She was an internationalist, and she was a writer. She was an amazing person, and because of this, the con party of the day, they erased her, they rubbed her out, they called her a hyena in petticoats, which is why we have a hyena's mask and we have petticoats around us, because we love reclaiming history. If someone as amazing and as incredible as Mary Wollstonecraft is erased as hyena in petticoats, I think it's our duty for us all these days to be hyenas in petticoats. A petticoat. That's social distancing. Imagine all those MPs queuing outside Parliament in their petticoats, every last one of them, 2 meters around them, hyenas masks on. That is social distancing sorted way back in the 18th century by this amazing person, Mary Wollstonecraft. I'm going to ask Josh to show 2 slides, 2 images. Well, the first one is image number 1, please, Josh. So if you put that, you'll be seeing an image very shortly that we've drawn. And this will be our drawing of, this is our living memorial to Mary. There's her heart. She had a big heart. There's some of her travels, her travellings from Lachan in South Wales to Beverley, just outside Hull, to Cork, to London, Paris, Lisbon, and around Scandinavia. Thanks, Josh. If you could bring us back to us, please, because our mask actually has Hull and Beverley on it. This is where she gained her education, right here. This is where she sailed out of, around Scandinavia. She was an international. She was a big fan of messages in bottles. And this bottle was last seen at Together those years ago that Jude talked about. This is a Fentimans lemonade bottle. So it's from Newcastle. And we performed, as Jude mentioned. And at the end of it, I remember sitting there performing in a library, and there was a family in, and there's a little lad, quite a young lad, probably about 6 or so, sitting at the end. And he leapt up at the end. He said, "But what's a poem? What is a poem?" And I handed him the bottle. And I said, "Is this a poem?" And he said, but it's a bottle. And I said, "But empty it. Tip it up. What's inside?" A pencil. And I asked him, "How many poems can you write with this pencil?" This pencil says on it, "Messages Boutai," because Mary loved traveling. She was an internationalist. And she sent messages all around the place in bottles, right around the world, campaigning. She was amazing. She was also a hoyden, Hoyden. Hoyden, well, it's a continental word, and it actually means more feisty than feisty. How about that? More feisty than feisty. Because of all that, and because she had a big heart, the con party of her day, they wanted to say goodbye to her. "Bye, Mary. Rub her out." But they failed. They also wanted her to buy in. You know, the morals and the values of the day. Get married, have children, zip it, keep quiet. They tried to rub her out, but she refused. Instead, because she was such a big heart, she adopted a strategy of the bisexual pen, both and rather than either or. She was into multiple things, multiple aspects of identity. And because of that, we are going to read the poem now, which is actually in the film that you'll see shortly. And it starts with the nursery rhyme. "Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, a row. Cowslips all in a row." Hang on, isn't that nursery rhyme supposed to go differently? There's always more than one way of singing a song. That's her way of singing it. That dreams are made by Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary, Lover Mary, Traveller Mary, Insurrectionary Mary. Writer, European, Mother Barely. Resting in power, wrestling with power. Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary. No selling out. The dreams are made by. From Spitalfields, Beverley, Lachan, Newington Green, Lisbon, County Cork, Paris, Putney Bridge, Hamburg, Christiana, Elsinore, and apologies to Chris for having to sign all that so quickly, but Mary travelled around Europe is the point, and online you will find all those places mapped. So it's about her journeys rather than the exact points on the map. And though those cons, they're screaming still, hyenas in petticoats, we're no there yet. Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary, no selling out. Dreams are made by Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? With cockle shells and silver bells and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row. Writer, insurrectionary, feminist, tomboy, feisty, hoyden, and hoyden, Hoyden, is more feisty than feist. Never sell out these days of love and raid, but pamphleteer laughter back at those jeering. Tie up the con party are partying, selling even scrappings off kiddie plates. We are Hyena, Petticoat, insurrectionaries all, defiant in dreaming, skein still in memorying, strength to strength, dreams always made by. And Josh, if you could bring up image 2 followed by image 3, please. These are just a couple more of the demo placards that you'll see in the film. We need to ask questions more. Why are those ex-asylums and prisons now boutique hotels? Ask questions like, will tomorrow's fish and chips be wrapped in today's tweets? Thanks, Josh. If you could bring us back. This bottle, if you remember, it had a message on it. Messages in bottles. We need to turn things around, don't we? If we turn it around, the message reads, the memory of light. And Josh, if you could bring up the final image, image number 5 for us, please. And that is the end of this we show and tell. The memory of light. The light never dies. And now I think we're about ready to see the short film, the demo in our council flat backyard called Hyenas and Petticoats. And as Ju said, there is a lot of resources, art online for you all to make your own t-shirts, demos, placards, maps, journeys, horizons, dreams, stars, and more. Cheers. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Cowslips all in cowslips all in a row. Mary, Mary, cowslips, how does your garden grow? Cowslips all in a row. How does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and white cowslips, how does your garden grow? A frigid system of economy which narrows both hearts and mind. Vindication of the rights of woman. Mary Wollstonecraft. Come party in her day, calling her Hyena and Petticoats. These days of love and rage, we're all hyenas in petticoats. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row. The dreams are made of, the dreams are made by Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary, Lover Mary, Traveller Mary, Insurrectionary Mary, Writer, European, Mother Barely. Resting in power, wrestling with power, Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary. No selling out. The dreams are made by Spitalfields, Beverley, Lochan, Newton Green, Lisbon, County Cork, Paris, Putney Bridge, Hamburg, Christiania, Elsinore. Your skein tying up, never selling out. And though they're screaming still, those cons, hyenas in petticoats, we know they're yet. Mad Mary, Rad Mary, by Mary. No selling out. Dreams are made by Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row. Mad, rad and bisexual, Mary Wollstonecraft, long-standing outside society yet wanting to build egalitarian ones. Writer, insurrectionary, feminist, tomboy, feisty, Hyena, and Hyena is more feisty than feist. never sell out these days of love and rage, where we are all hyenas in petticoats, pamphleteering laughter back at those jeering. Skein, tie up, con party a partying, selling even scrappings off kiddie plates. We are hyena, petticoat, insurrectioners all, defiant in dreaming, skein still in memorying, strength to strength, dreams always made by. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row, and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and cowslips all in a row, cowslips all in a row.
Thank you very much indeed, Gobscure, and apologies for using the wrong pronouns throughout that introduction. So I'm very pleased to say that the second artist performing tonight is Rebecca Redican. Rebecca is going to be introducing herself. So I think I'm just trying to look around the things that are only visible to me. Josh, are we starting with Rebecca's video, or is Rebecca coming in live first?
We're going straight into the video.
Wonderful. So first of all, we have a video. Rebecca will introduce herself, the work, and everything in it. During the second half of this performance, you will be able to interact with Rebecca live. And indeed, it's quite important that you do, as you'll see in the video. So if you're on Zoom, you use the live chat, and ditto if you use YouTube. I'm monitoring that. Josh is monitoring Zoom, and we'll be able to voice that straight over to Rebecca to respond from. So now you'll get a chance to see what we're talking about. Thank you, Josh.
Welcome to Delay 6. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rebecca Redican, and in this piece we're going to be asking a few questions and hopefully solving a few as well. Delay 6 is a piece about dyslexia. I myself was diagnosed with dyslexia just after I'd done my GCSEs. Understandably, without that support beforehand, I came up with many coping mechanisms to essentially hide the difficulty I was having. For me, when I was younger, the idea that people could stand up in front of a whole class and read aloud without wanting to faint or run away absolutely baffled me, and I didn't understand why. Dyslexia is one of those things that I believe can be kind of misunderstood, and rightly so. Dyslexia for many people is a different feeling. We react to it in different ways. In Delay 6, we're going to be asking a few questions, including why is dyslexia such a hard word to spell? But also we're going to be looking at different ways that dyslexia can affect different people. So with this piece, what I've hoped to do is almost give you the idea of how dyslexia can feel on a day-to-day basis. In this piece, I'm going to be using a few little elements, including written words, which have been suspended in a manner so that when a fan, which I will be holding whilst filming this piece, passes over them, they move. Because as I'm sure a lot of you know, that's how dyslexia can feel. The letters move around on the page, but that's not all they do. And that's what we hope to discover in this piece. As we go along, I'm going to ask you a favour. Try and read everything you see. We'll be hovering around each section of the piece for a moment or two, and if you don't read it in time, don't worry, I've been there. We'll come back to it. In this piece, things will be spelt unusually. Things may be backwards, things may be in reverse. You may well find some homophones that are the same word spelt in different manners that you can't quite see or get your head around, but again, don't worry. That's how it feels sometimes. In this piece, I've also placed some things to maybe look out for, symptoms, for example, and those symptoms can be possibly seen as the negative, but also the positives as well, such as the way in which my brain works to make me super creative. I'm well aware that I see the world in a different way to many people, and in all honesty, when I was younger and I would see people stand up in front of people and read aloud without looking petrified, I'd be jealous and I'd feel weird. And in comparison to other people, I would feel lesser. But since being diagnosed and since getting my head around what dyslexia is, I honestly wouldn't change it for the world. In this piece, we will be exploring that more. So please join me now and read whatever you can in this Delay 6.
So we're now live with delay 6. You can control the position of the camera by typing into live chat. So you can type L for left, R for right, U for up, D for down, or just tell us. Left. Down. Left. Across right. Down. Would somebody like to type in the chat? And in the meantime, I think left. Oh, left and up. Down right. And down right some more. And right again. And down. Somebody else want to give us some instructions? And in the meantime, I shall say left. Ah, right. And right some more. And then up and left. I don't know if this one's possible. It wasn't in the choices, but are you able to go round in a circle? And then Gobscure is saying left and keep going left. Is it possible to zoom in? I'm not sure it is. But we can get closer, certainly. We've got 1 more minute. Does anybody else want to have a go or another go? Keep left. And then diagonally right. And we'll leave it there. So Rebecca is just going to switch her camera off for a moment and come back to us. And Gobscure is about to join us. Wonderful. We just need your microphone on as well now, Gobscure. Fantastic. So while we're waiting for Rebecca, Gobscure, you both work with words, don't you? And you both like to obscure words. Would you like to talk a bit more about that?
So for us, I mean, for different reasons, you know, when we see a word or hear it, we often see all sorts of multiple things happening in it. So, you know, we misread, you know, so in terms of, let's say, mental distresses, out and about, you see an advert, we read something completely different into it. So there is that. The other thing is that language is alive. Language is fluid. It's, if you like, plastic. You know, I mean, and as you know, Delay 6 has shown, language is literally alive. And I know that once upon a, you know, so Shakespeare spelt their name 5 or 6 different ways, and for some weird reason, we kind of nailed it down, and it looks like that. And the English language, for a start, is from all over the world. It's not English. It's from everywhere. It's made up, and it changes all the time. Which, so I like the fact that language is, it's alive and it's musical, and I don't like nailing it down, saying that word means this. So that's my take on it. I don't know what you think.
I completely agree with you there. It's something which is changing, and for me, it's something that can change.
I think we just need you a bit closer to the mic, Rebecca.
Oh, is that a little bit better?
It certainly is.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think for me, it's it can change even language dependent on my mood, or if I'm stressed, or if I'm having a great time. The language can actually change, and you're completely right. It is alive and constantly evolving and changing.
And I think one of the reasons we're so interested in language-based work in Newham is that almost half our residents don't speak English at home, and 1 in 8 of our residents speaks a language at home that less than 1% of the rest of the borough speak. So we really celebrate everything around language. As I said at the start, we do have an embedded link for your Prison exhibition, which was the last thing you did, and that was all about language, wasn't it?
It was, yes. So prison, literally, you know, they are real words. So prison and song, they're 2 different words. Crash them together, you get prison. So it's reclaiming. And again, this thing like, you know, oh, it's got to be spelt like that. And as I understand it, that English, in terms of dyslexia, is perhaps one of the hardest languages. It's just weird the way it's kind of constructed. But this thing of, you know, kids or whoever, why, you know, give them stories, give them languages, not, oh, this is grammar. I don't know what grammar and, you know, nouns and adjectives and whatever are, but, you know, tell stories or play with it, explore it, use it creatively. And also think, G, you were saying about how, you know, in the Borough of Newham that, you know, different languages spoken, yet how many of those words, if you like, loan words used into English? So bungalow and juggernaut, you know, or, you know, robot comes from the Czech Republic. So as you know, those, so their languages are kind of here, but obviously we've done whatever to them. So, you know, that thing of let's liberate them or reclaim them or free them up. So yes.
So I just wanted to pick up something quickly with you, Gobscure, which is your Mary Wollstonecraft work is very timely, given the controversy around Maggie Hambling. Now, we do talk about this more in the interview you did on Wednesday on Together Unlocked, which again is embedded on the website. But I just wondered if you wanted to share any of your thoughts with us now.
So, well, so the things.
And there's a question on live chat. What first got you interested in Mary Wollstonecraft? And then I'm going to come to Rebecca with a question.
Being age 16, being age 15, 16, so about 40 odd years. I can't remember where, but again, it was probably like a good historian, so not some boring, dry dates and, you know, the great whatevers. And for some reason, this rebellious person, this person that just, well, could not see things the way that the conventions dictated. So I fell in love about 40 years ago. And the thing is that, so for me, you know, Mary, I think, would hate being put on a plinth. A plinth is incredibly, old-fashioned and patrician, patriarchal, what have you. I think she was a street person, a street woman. I think she was at street level. The other bit about the whole Mary project for me is, well, no, and it's not about COVID, but in terms of who are the people we memorialise, and whether they feel like famous or whether they're someone that means something to us. How do we remember anyone, and how do we memorialise them, including under 10 years of brutal austerity and now under COVID? What is the, if you like, a useful way of whoever that person is? And it can be, you know, your best friend, your gran, whoever it is. They don't have to be famous. They don't have to have done something that history, which does contain the word his and Tory, you know, there's a wordplay thing, you know, writes down that person that did that amazing thing for you. How do you memorialize them? You know, do we build this big thing and stick them on it? And they're kind of dead. Mary is alive. Mary is now. She is alive. She's relevant. So that's why.
Brilliant. And I just wanted to add that one of the ways we've been memorialising the artists we've lost this year is to use our Carnival Arts programme, working with Callaloo Arts to create Muertes Ofrendas, which are essentially shrines. We have examples on our website, again, embedded into the programme. So for everybody who's lost someone this year, you know, I really would recommend that. And also, if you know the artist concerned, of course, I think you'll be very interested. So this is a question to Rebecca. You used lots of words, lots of colours, lots of dimensions. If you were using just one colour and one word, what would you say?
Oh, that's a great question. I really like that. So when you get tested for dyslexia, you get tested with lots of films, which are kind of see-through cellophane things that you can cover up and put over words. And naturally, certain dyslexic brains will be able to read something better. So for me, reading black on white, like most books, is nearly impossible. So what I do is I place a film over the top of that, and the film color that I have that's best for my brain is like a cerise pink color. So I think I'd have to go for kind of like a bright pink hue. And a word possibly would be enigmatic, because I think that's how dyslexia comes across to me. It's quite constant, it's moving, it evolves, it changes, but it is enigmatic, it's full of energy. It's you know, as if you spend time with someone who's always enigmatic, it can be a bit frustrating at times, can't it? That's exactly how dyslexia is for me. Sometimes it frustrates me, but thankfully most of the time I just find that I'm kind of happy in the space and in its company. So yeah, pink and enigmatic.
Fantastic. So we've heard a bit about how Gobscure came to create this project. How did Delay 6 start, and what's your thinking behind it?
For me, I actually had a conversation with some of my friends about dyslexia and what they thought dyslexia was. And they believed that it was, you know, just words kind of letters would flip round sometimes. And for me, it was quite important to talk about, actually, it's not that, it's about retaining information sometimes. It's about actually remembering names and remembering sequences is really difficult for me. So I wanted to kind of portray that it's maybe not what everybody thinks, although that can be part of it, but also that I'm well aware, because of dyslexia, your brain does work slightly differently, which is in the piece, as we were going along, there were some segments about people with dyslexia can often excel in the arts and even in certain sciences. And I thought that was a really important thing to explore with this, of, yeah, things do move around, but also it can be quite creative and it can be quite interesting in the way that my brain will kind of decode that.
So we'll bring Gobscure back in on that in a moment, but there's a question for you that just says, do you use colour to learn things? And actually, I'll ask Gobscure that as well.
Yeah, I do use colour a lot to learn things and to try and remember things. My mum, when I was younger, used to say that if I could remember my times table and dates in history, as well as I could remember the lyrics to the latest pop song that was out at the moment, then I'd be an absolute genius and no one could take me over. And I feel it's exactly the same with colour sometimes. Sometimes I'll remember certain colours, so I'll use a lot of highlighters and I'll use a lot of doodles and drawings when I'm actually trying to get information into my own brain and read things. So colour for me personally works really well.
And you're a very colourful artist, aren't you, Gobscure? You know, the Prison exhibition, which was words, had a lot of colour in it.
Not at all, no. It was very, very grey and dull, and I think we need petticoats just in beige. Yeah, I like I like noise and mess, and, you know, in general. And that other thing of, so when I make art, because of various reasons, including dyspraxia, so, you know, different strand to dyslexia, but again, part of perhaps a continuum, if you like. So, if you like, in terms of making things straight, and I'm not talking about sexuality, because clearly but in that sense, I couldn't do that if I tried. So this whole thing of then, again, so actually doing it differently, so actually things being a bit messy or splodgy, or, you know, and multiple colours, and because I'm self-taught also, so why not have that fun or that play or that bigness or boldness or brightness? For me, in terms of words, and for me, it's actually music or sound. So it's actually, you know, the sound of stuff. So that film, that's why the sound of waves at the end, or trains. So when I hear, you know, when I'm thinking about a text, whether I'm reading it or listening, to me, it's music. So it's not so much colour. Or music or rhythm, sound effects. So that's perhaps the thing that happens to me first. But yes.
Yes, I mean, I like the sound that you have in your piece, Rebecca, is very much the sound, you know, not just the sound of the fan, but you've also very deliberately put wind chimes and things in there, and you see the windmills moving, but you also hear a little bit of rustling. So was the sound important to you as well?
Yeah, definitely. The sound for me can sometimes almost be a make or break. When I was younger and at school, and you'd have like revision hours to sit down in silence and read. Oh, come on. I may as well have been, you know, chewing gum to try and build a rocket. It was useless. So yeah, sound's really important for me, definitely.
So do you both find that sound helps you to focus?
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
So we've got a few more minutes. If anybody else has got a question, there's a comment which is, thank you to both artists. It's been a thrilling evening, full of adventures, full of challenge, full of information, and full of fun. For anybody who can't see it, Gobscure is holding up one of the artistic pieces from this. Will tomorrow's fish and chips be wrapped in today's tweets? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Gobscure?
Not really. I mean, I was talking with Rebecca about food just before the show opened. I'm not a big fan of what I call anti-social media. I don't think that anti-social media does help that much. And so it's just, yeah, it was just a sort of a poetic, playful thing rather than anything huge.
And we've got one access comment, which was they weren't able to zoom in on the interpreter. We're having quite high level conversations with Zoom. For some reason, whatever we do, we end up having high level conversations with the streaming engineers because we do things they didn't expect us to do. And their software doesn't work the way they expect it. But apologies for that. We will do our best to rectify that in the recording. So we've got 2 more minutes. So I'm going to come to each of you for a final comment. There's also another message in the live chat. Bravo to both artists. Really enjoyed both shows. So let's have a final word from you first. In fact, let's go to Gobscure first and let a woman have the last word.
So the memory of light, that's 4 words, but I'm holding up it's a battery powered candle, but a lit candle, the memory of light.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
So from me, I wanted to sort of talk about why dyslexia itself is such a hard word to spell. And hopefully you noticed in the piece there was an answer to that. It's because, kind of relating to what you were saying earlier, actually, it's ancient Greek word based on 2 words meaning inadequate and language. And for me, that is not what dyslexia is at all. It is a wonderful, weird thing to get your head around, but in the end, it is absolutely something that can bring joy to so many. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me take part.
Thank you, and thank you for turning dyslexia into Delay 6, which is so much easier to remember, easier to spell,
Yeah.
lots more creative, and exactly what I will be using from now on. Thank you, everybody who's joined us this evening. A massive thank you in particular to my assistant, Josh Surgener, who's the young producer on our Unlocked stream and has been the assistant producer on the festival. Also to Robin Surgener, MBE, our business director and Unlocked host, who welcomed you all and talked you through the programme so ably this morning earlier. Thank you again to Norma from Global Real-Time Captioning and Chris Burrow, our sign language interpreter. Thank you to our funders, Arts Council England and National Lottery. Thank you all for listening. And as it's now 8 o'clock, we will, as it were,